video on this Ossobuco. So I had the opportunity to buy some Ossobuco, some really good quality ones for a really good price. So I couldn't miss the opportunity, and I kind of thought, we'll do something with it, and we'll use it as an opportunity to kind of like get rid of a few other things around the house as well. So we're going to slow braise it in basically a tomato ragu. So it wasn't cheap. It was really kind of expensive, but still cheaper than normally would. So it's come in this fat packet, and there's quite a bit of blood in here. So we need to. We need to get it out of this blood and dry it off, and then we're going to fry it in some fat, and then we're going to slowly braise it in the oven. So it's basically the shin with the marrow bone still in it. That bit out of the way. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it wasn't cheap. So pat it dry, get rid of the excess blood, and then because I'm cooking, it's like the hottest of the year so far. So I don't know when this video I'll post this video, but so because the oven's on cooking something else on the hottest day of the year, I might as well cook this, and we might as well cook a few other things. So in the case of using things up, so we'll use this opportunity to make a bit of excess tomato ragu at the same time, and then I kind of wanted to do a little bit of comparison. So this is particularly good quality meat, and then this is just something from the supermarket, extra lean small roasting joint. I don't know which part of the animal it will be from, but I kind of thought, well, we'll use that opportunity to cook that as well. Oh, it's the top side, part of the top side. I don't know which part of the top side, but let's just have a look at that, and then we'll kind of see if there's a huge amount of difference between these cuts of meat. Now, I would have really liked to have bought some shin, but nowhere sells it, and the butcher didn't have any because it's the middle of summer and people don't want to eat that kind of thing. But so that's why we're using a bit of top side. But it'll just show if there's any kind of difference between the types of meat. So I have got pans on. That's going to get hot in a second. Got some chicken fat, which will do. So we need to caramelise it really well. Get it off. So caramelise it really well. We'll do in batches. So we'll do that one first, wait till it shrinks a bit, and then we'll do that one, and then I've got loads of onions that need using up. So I've sliced all those really thinly, so that's going to be like a bit of a part of the sauce. And I saw that in another video that someone else was doing, which kind of looks kind of quite interesting. So we're going to do that, and then I've got some vegetable trimmings here, and the onions from the slicing, onion trimmings there from the slicing unit, and then we've got the rough bits of the celery to use up as well. So we'll fry the meat off, and then we'll cook down the vegetables in the fat. With all the caramelised bits on the bottom of the pan, and then we'll puree it up with some tomatoes. We might add a bit of tomato puree, and then that'll be the basis of the sauce. We'll put the meat back in on top of the sauce, and then these onions on top, and then slowly braise for hours and hours on a low heat. But it doesn't really matter because the oven's going to be on all day anyway, which is a stupid thing really, because it's like the hottest time of the year, and I'm just going to be sweating. So how's it start to? How's it looking? Right, it needs more. Oh, I know what we need to do. We need to get the sugar down. So we need to just snip on the outside of the meat, otherwise it won't stay flat, it wants an umbrella. So just slice those bits of sinew around the outside. It's already quite easy to do it, so you just need to do that bit and make it stay flat. There we go, that's what we needed to do. So we'll do that in here. So we just need to go around. You can do it with a sharp knife, but loads of people haven't got really sharp knives, so scissors work a treat. Just cut those bits there, because what they'll do is they'll shrink and tighten and want to make the meat go like an umbrella. But anyway, so that's getting nice. So turn that over. See, that's getting nice and caramelised. We want it really, really well caramelised. So I'll finish off doing that, and then we'll fry up the vegetables using all the fat and the niceness, all the caramelised bits, and then we'll be back a bit later on. Have the fan on. Right, so a bit too noisy, the fan on, so we'll have to be quick. So we've browned off the meat. It's all caramelised all over, looking very nice. It's just resting on top of the onions at the moment because I'm trying to cut down on washing up. The vegetables have gone into the pot, well, the chopped vegetables, and they're just sweating down nicely. They're going to pick up all those excess bits of meat, caramelised bits off the side of the pan. So we'll put the lid on, well, nearly put the lid on, and then we'll sweat those down, and then we'll add the tomatoes to that, tin of tomatoes to that, and then we'll puree that to make like a thin sauce, because I don't want chunks, big chunks of vegetables in my finished sauce. Now I have got this out of the fridge. This is some meat juices, so don't want to waste it, so those can go in the pan as well. It's from pork, I think, so but that'll be fine even though we're using beef. It'll all be a bit of extra flavour, and just kind of also a bit of a lesson of teaching you how to use things up that we've got around. So there's loads of flavour in that, so we don't want to waste it, because if we're getting flavour for free, then we might as well use it. And we do like some things free, and flavour is something kind of quite hard to come by. So put a lid on, we'll sweat that down for a little bit just so it softens, and then we'll add the tomatoes, maybe a bit of tomato puree. We'll look how it's looking. I want it kind of quite tomatoey, even though the bulk of the sauce is going to come from the liquid in those onions. So sweat that down, and then we'll be back. So vegetables are soft. Running out of space, so the lead from the stick blender won't reach, so I need to move that there, and then tin of tomatoes, and puree it up. They're just cheap tomatoes. Do you know, you can improve your cooking by using better quality products. There's no doubt about it. But better quality products cost a lot more money. So I'd rather buy cheap and use a few tricks to make them taste better. So cheap tin tomatoes are fine. So if I was being rustic, I wouldn't care, but I don't want big chunks of carrot, big chunks of celery, big chunks of onion in my ragu sauce. Scrape down the sides of that. Now I'm doing an experiment at the moment with celery, and I think celery is like a dish improver. I think you get a wonderful meaty savouriness from celery, so I always include it in things. And then same with onions, and the same with carrots. So you get a sweetness from carrots and you get a sweetness from onions, which kind of compensates for the sharpness of tomatoes that we put in things. So I put things in for a reason. And to leave them out doesn't make that much difference, but it makes enough of a difference if we're doing 10 little things to a dish. You know, if we would stop doing all those 10 little things, then the dish wouldn't taste the same. You can miss out the celery, you can miss out the onions, you can miss out the carrot, but soon before long it's just meat, and it's just meat in tin tomatoes, isn't it? So that looks more carroty, orangey than it does tomatoey. So that much tomato puree to compensate for not putting more tomatoes in it. And maybe a bit more. See, all tomato puree is just concentrated tomatoes. So it's just tomatoes that have had the liquid taken out of them, and because we've got liquid coming from other places, then tomato puree is fine. Right, we need to put some salt in as well. So that looks like quite a lot of salt, but it's not really. Running out of pepper as always. That'll do for the moment, we'll put in more later. So that we've pureed in enough. So we don't bang plastic on metal because it will crack the plastic. Bang it on a hand just to get all those extra bits off. And that goes to wash. And then meat in like that, and then onions on top, and they'll cook down and form a sauce. So it's going to be like think like tomato oniony gravy as a sauce goes, but I'm making extra, so I'll be able to use it in something else later on in the week. You know, like if the oven's on, you know, make more tomato sauce. You know, it's not going to take that much more energy to cook all that down than it would to use half the amount. You know, if it's going to be in for 4 hours, it's not going to make a blind bit of difference. So I'll let that on there, that on there. Lid on, then in the oven. So the oven's on at 125, which is fine. And I'm not going to eat this today, I'm going to eat it tomorrow, so we'll be reheating tomorrow anyway. So, in the oven, 125 for at least 4 hours. About 3.5 hours. So, let's have a look at it. It feels really heavy. Look at that. Oh, you can't see because it's all steamed up. Look at that. So let's have a dig around, see what we can find. So those onions are forming going to be a delicious sauce. Okay, so that's the bit of normal beef. That's not tender yet. That's not tender yet. Let's see if we can find a bit of the Ossobuco. No, it's not. Just not tender yet. It's going to need another 2 hours, I reckon. But that's fine. It can stay on at a low heat. And then I think what we'll do is we'll pull it out, let it go cold, and then we'll reheat it tomorrow, because I think things taste always better the day after, and we'll have a faff around with the sauce and things. But if we need to reduce it, what we'll do is we'll strain out the onions and the meat, and then reduce the actual, just the liquid down separately. I think that's what we'll do. But anyway, so that needs another 2 hours. I reckon it's not going to do any harm. 2 hours, and the lower and the slower, the better. Oh, should give it a taste, shouldn't I? Maybe should, and then we can see if we need to add some salt to it. But that's good. That's good already. So, right. So, since potentially we're going to reduce this sauce down, we don't know when I'd add any more seasoning now, because all that will really do is concentrate the salt, the salty flavour of it. And if we over season now, still can't see particularly well, can you? If we over season now, it'll become too salty, and that's not what we want. Basic rules of cooking is we can always add, very difficult to take away when it comes to things like seasoning. So that's fine for the moment. We just need that meat to cook and become super tender. Another couple of hours. So let's have a look. I think it'll be ready. if I'm honest. Ooh. It's certainly been bubbling, isn't it? So, those have started to break down. So, that's the... Oh, that's ready to fall to bits, is that? That's nice and tense. Well, you can't see. So that's ready to fall into bits. And where's the Ossobuco? Might have absolutely fallen to bits. And there's one. Let me get a bigger spoon. Get a bigger spoon then. Stop trying to save yourself too much washing up. Oh, that's falling off the bone, is that? Right, so. Yeah, that's super falling off the bone. So I'm not eating that tonight. I'm going to have it tomorrow. So we will have a look at it when it's cooled down tomorrow. Obviously you could just eat straight away at this point. That it's had a good nearly 6 hours at 125 degrees. So it's, you could speed that process up if you wanted to put everything in the pan, get it on the top of the stove, get it up to like a simmering point, and then put in the oven. That would speed up the cooking process. But we're going to taste a bit. Let's just taste some of that, mate. That's lovely and tender as that. That's good. Anyway, so let that cool, and we'll have a look at it tomorrow. But what I think we'll do is if we put the onions in a sieve, like that, the onions will stay in the sieve and the liquid will pour out. And then what we can do is we can reduce that liquid. If we start boiling those onions to reduce the sauce, it's going to boil the onions to bits, which is not what we want. We want that body in the onions, but we just want to concentrate that liquid. So, and also it'll reduce it easier if it's in a liquid form rather than like with bulk in it, like the bulk of those onions or the bulk of that meat. Which the meat's cooked, those onions are cooked. We want to preserve the shape of the onions. How do they taste? They will be delicious. Yeah, so lovely and soft, but we don't want to boil them to bits. So we'll strain out some of that liquid, have a look at the meat, and then reduce that down. How does it actually taste? It's pretty good as it is, but it'll be nicer when it's reduced a bit. So I'm bringing this back up to temperature because it's been in the fridge overnight. So let's just pretend I didn't put it in the fridge and we're at that stage where it's cooked, and we're going to do something with it. And I've had thoughts about what I want to do with it. Tonight I'm going to have it with polenta, and tomorrow I kind of thought, well, let's do it with pasta, which has led on to another thought. But I was kind of thinking, when we cook it with the pasta, I want some of the liquid from this to be able to cook the pasta in. So it's a nice flavour. Is this sauce, this oniony, meaty, tomatoey sauce? It's got a really nice flavour to it. So I don't really want to reduce it. What I want to do is I just want to strain out some of the excess juice, which I'm going to use to cook the pasta in tomorrow night, if that kind of makes sense. So we just need to basically faff around with it. So it's coming up to temperature. We're just going to put it through, so we'll get rid of the excess liquid out of it by just straining it, because normally you reduce sauces to intensify flavour, but if it's already a good flavour, then don't really need to do that. Or we reduce to thicken them up as well. So if a sauce is a bit thin and a bit flavourless, by reducing it, we thicken it up and we intensify the flavour. So I don't really need to do that with this. So let's just pull these bits of meat out so I don't break them up. I'll have to go hunting for the other bits. So where are we? And I don't think I've lost a bit of that Ossobuco. That's probably not how you pronounce it. It's just wanted to fall to bits. So that is super tender. But it's done that. So and the other bit will be down here somewhere. There we go. So that's completely fallen to bits. That's going to be lovely and tender when we heat it back up. So let's, now this sauce is warm, we'll be able to strain out all the liquid. So there's loads of onions in there. It seems to be kind of quite a good ratio. It's a bit of the Ossobuco there. So what we'll do is lots of faffing around as always. So it's just a simple case of getting the sauce, putting it in the sieve, and then moving the sauce about a bit. So we're not pushing it through, we're not pushing the onions through the sieve. What we're doing is we're just going to move it around so the liquid falls to the bottom, and then that's what we're going to use to part cook the pasta tomorrow. I think that's the plan. So just to help it along, we'll just move it around, because the liquid will want to escape from the outsides that are next to the sieve or the strainer, whatever you want to call it. So we just need to keep moving it around so the liquid has, from the centre of the mass, has a chance to escape, and then that'll be a nice thick enough sauce to have with that braised meat, and then the watery stuff underneath is what we can flavour the pasta with. So it'll be a nice chunky sauce with that. So that's about the right consistency of the sauce that I want. So we've got that liquid there, and then let's not wash that just yet because I might need it. And then let's put this meat back on to heat up. Won't put it all back in. We'll just put the one Ossobuco in, and that. And we've got one that has. Good job, didn't do that. So we've got some of that liquid there, which we can capture in there. So that bit of meat is for tomorrow evening. So that can stay out of the pot, because it will just, I don't want it to overcook. Well, it won't overcook, but I don't think it'll take it too far. And then we'll heat that up, and then we'll do a taste test and see what they're like. So, lid on, heat it up, and I'll be back when I've cooked some polenta and it's hot, and we're ready to give it a taste test. Alright, so easy polenta, semolina, double the quantity of water to semolina, and then in there's one chicken stock cube for a bit of flavour, and I put in some fat as well. So let's just call it butter. It's not butter, but we might as well call it butter, just for the sake of ease. Otherwise, I'll end up having to explain what it is. So in a bit, and then I've got, how much cheese have I got? I've got about 50 grams worth of cheese, I think. So all that can go in. It might lump up a little bit, but I'm not that bothered. Okay. We're not in a restaurant, I'm not that bothered if it goes a little bit lumpy. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? And then when it's all combined, it cooks instantly. And when it's all combined, we can turn the heat off. That's like the back, and then we can put the cheese in. Little cheese in like that. So, and then a bit of pepper, and that'll be lovely. So that's, I don't know, it's a bit like mashed potatoes, but without the hassle of having to cook and mash and peel the potatoes and wash them and all that kind of stuff. So that's fine. So that's going to be that part of it, and then let's taste this. So out of the way, that out of the way. Let's see what this is like. So that's a bit of the Ossobuco, and then this is the roasting joint from the supermarket. So, roasting joint should be tender enough that it just falls to bits. That's nice and tender, isn't it? So grab a bit of that, and grab a bit of this. So, what do we think of this expensive Ossobuco? That's delicious. That's really nice. But it was always going to be, wasn't it? And what does this beef taste like? You're not much in it, really. That was really expensive. That was a lot cheaper. For something like this, I recommend the one. I recommend the cheaper roasting joint. That's nice. I think if I'd have bought just some shin beef from the butchers, I don't think you'd have been able to tell the difference between the expensive and the normal. Anyway, it's lovely, you know. But if we're cooking on a budget, go for that. If you want to be fancy, go for the proper stuff. Right, so yeah, we're back tomorrow when I'll faff around cooking this pasta. But let's start to caramelise and whatnot, which is not what we want. So we can turn that off, and I'll have my dinner. Oh yeah, so we really should try the marrow from the centre of the bone, shouldn't we? Because that's a major part of it as well. So does the marrow from the centre of it make that world of difference? That's delicious. That marrow is lovely. That's kind of quite interesting. I've got some marrow bones in the freezer. That's delicious, is that marrow? Yeah. I should do something with those marrow bones. Yeah. The marrow's nicer than the meat. Yeah, the marrow's nicer than the meat. So that's the first bit. Anyway, so worth worth it if you're a fan of the marrow. But if you're a bit squeamish about those type of things, I won't bother buying them. I'll just buy a bit of braising steak. If not, in all honesty, let's use this juice from the Ossobuco. Probably pronounced that wrong. To cook the pasta. So it's just the water of it. So instead of reducing the sauce down, we've just strained it off. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 200 grams worth of pasta and we're going to cook it in that water. And I know that's not enough water to ordinarily cook that amount of pasta, but we're going to cook it more like a risotto. So it's going to, the pasta will absorb the liquid as it cooks, and it will also evaporate off, which will concentrate it and vastly improve that pasta. Now, I'm all about the cheap food, if I'm honest. So this is the really cheap stuff from the supermarket, and I just kind of think it's important that we can do things. Just because you're on a tighter budget doesn't mean that food can't be delicious. That's kind of what I'm getting at, And I think I worked in kitchens, or the first kitchen I worked in, where the first head chef was brilliant at it, absolutely brilliant at turning nothing into something delicious. So Is there enough? Yes, there's enough pasta in there for me. So we're going to cook that like a risotto. We might add a little bit more liquid as we go, but not much. And the idea is that by the time the pasta's cooked, all the liquid, hopefully, will have evaporated. We just need to keep an eye on it so it doesn't catch and keep moving the pasta around. But because we're doing the same type of method as a cacio e pepe or a carbonara, where we take the pasta water, we take the starch from the pasta and use that to form part of the sauce that we're going to serve with the pasta in a carbonara or cacio e pepe. It's the same kind of principle. So by moving this around, starch will be released from the pasta and it will thicken the sauce. So we might need to add a little bit more liquid, but as we move it around, starch will be released and it will form a bed sauce. So then what we could actually do is we could actually just add cheese once it's cooked in that sauce. We then could just add cheese to that, which we might do actually, just kind of out of interest, and then serve the bit of ossobuco on top of it. So it doesn't need to be a massive rapid boil. It's breaking all the rules of cooking pasta doing it this way, but sometimes rules are there to be broken. So it's been cooking. It's taken a little bit longer than usual to cook. I think that's down to the pasta, and I think that's down to the absorption of the so there's it's not liquid like water, so the actual liquid in the sauce has more trouble getting into the pasta, whereas if it was just plain water, it would take about 7-8 minutes to cook. It's taken more like 20 to cook because the pasta is having a harder time absorbing the moisture out of the liquid. That's it. That's what I'm trying to say. So, but as you can see, I added more, just kept an eye on it, but it's nice and shiny. It's nice and shiny, and what we call it, and most of the liquid has gone. So I have grated some hard Italian cheese. It's just the cheap stuff because we're all about cost, aren't we? So, same technique as a cacio e pepe, where we now just turn the heat off. So turn the heat off so the cheese doesn't split, and then we add cheese in here and then stir it all around, and it will form a cheesy, delicious, meaty, oniony sauce. Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. So the cheese is melted and it's formed a delicious, cheesy, meaty sauce. So that's going to be extra delicious. So we can, instead of reducing that liquid down from the sauce and concentrating it, because the sauce is nice anyway, we can actually take that liquid and get another dish out of it and turn it into a pasta dish, which we can either serve with the meat or separate from the meat, whichever way you want. So that in there, like that, looks very dark, doesn't it? There we go, that looks lovely, doesn't that? So here we go. Faffed around a bit too much with it all, but delicious all the same. Taste of it. It's going to taste nice. But you kind of need to do it on camera, don't you? And with a bit of extra sauce. That's so good. That's so good as well. That's delicious.